There's a fast-growing trend behind Katahdin hair sheep. They're being presented as the best all-round sheep for ranches and for small farms and for homesteads. With over 20 years of raising hair sheep, and specifically Katahdin hair sheep, I want to share with you some of the realistic pros and cons that we have learned, and hopefully you'll be better informed when making the decision regarding your own farm and your own homestead. So let's take a look at some of the facts regarding Katahdin hair sheep. Katahdin hair sheep were originally bred in Maine in the US a little while back, combining some of the best hair sheep, looking for big build, lots of meat, and also parasite resistance and some of the other factors that you're especially looking for in quality meat sheep. So pros regarding Katahdin hair sheep. Where to start? Katahdin hair sheep are highly prized for their low maintenance. They are excellent foragers and grazers. Katahdin hair sheep are known to be super adaptive to different climates and different situations. We have relatively hot summers and uh, relatively mild winters, but it gets kind of cold and it's pretty rainy. Ours do great here. They're so much more parasite resistant, and they have better feet than a lot of other hair sheep. Even though it's so wet, with our Katahdins, we have very little issues with hoof rot. Katahdins make it so much easier to be organic and natural, which is what we're committed to. They grow out a thick coat in the winter to keep them warm, and then they naturally shed that coat during the summer. So there's no costs and no time going into shearing, which cuts down time and money from your investment expenses. In addition, Katahdin hair sheep are great mothers, and with all the different collars being introduced, you have some really cute lambs. One thing that we love about Katahdin hair sheep as well is how mild their meat is. A lot of sheep meat is known for being kind of gamey, where you can taste the lanolin. But with Katahdin hair sheep, their meat is so mild. It's so delicious. There is a big market for Katahdin hair sheep too, especially amongst homesteads and small farms. We sell pretty much all of our sheep as livestock. We sell starter flocks and we sell feeder lambs. How do hair sheep compare to raising beef cows? This is a big topic and there's a lot that goes into this, but there's just some key points to note though and to keep in mind. You can have 5 to 7 sheep on the amount of pasture that one cow is going to take up. So from each ewe, you're likely going to get 2 lambs. The gestation period is shorter, and you can sell the lambs sooner. You can wean the lambs sooner than with a cow. Sheep are a lot less work than cows are as far as handling them, as far as equipment, and as far as fencing goes. As a little bonus, in our experience, Katahdins are smarter than wool sheep, for example, lots smarter, and they have great temperaments too. So we're going to look at some numbers here. This is a pretty simple scenario for a low expense investment with Katahdin hair sheep. We're going to say we have 6 sheep. So you buy 5 ewes and 1 ram at a price of $300 per sheep, which you might get for a bulk discount. That's a total of $1,800. And then 4 out of those 5 have twins. which is pretty consistent with our numbers. So you have 9 lambs. Depending on the quality, the collar, we'll say 250 to 300 per lamb for selling them. We'll say 5 of these lambs go for 300 and 4 of them go for 250, which comes out to 2,500 income from those 9 lambs. Now keep in mind that you have to subtract your feeding expenses from this. And this is going to really be determined based on how much grass you have and how much you have to spend for feeding your sheep. So keep that in mind. But we're just going to say you spend 300 to 400 for feeding alfalfa and a little bit for supplementing. And we're not going to count any veterinary costs since we are organic and we don't use vaccinations. So 300 to 400 is our estimate of your expenses. So you have to subtract 300 to 400 from that 25, and counting your 1,800 original purchase price, that is going to give you just about $300 to $400 return on investment in that first year. Now keep in mind the gestation period is 5 months, and you can sell the lambs and they're ready to be weaned at 3 months old, and then you have so much potential for the future with that small flock of sheep. If you were to double the amount of sheep you'd buy, you could double the cost involved and double the sales and double your return on investment. What are the cons when it comes to Katahdin hair sheep? To be realistic, there's not much I can say there. If you compare them to Dorpers, then they're not quite as large as a Dorper. And if you compare them to St. Croix, which are said to be the most parasite resistant, then they don't quite match a St. Croix in that area. If you're considering getting Katahdin hair sheep, I think you're on the right track. There's a lot of good content that you can research online, so make sure that you do some research considering your specific area and your climate and your situation. A lot can depend upon your situation. If you're in a warm and dry climate and what matters most to you is meat and body mass, you'll likely want to consider Dorpers. Now, one question is, how do Katahdins compare with some of the other hair sheep breeds? Dorpers are said to be the biggest hair sheep, but they're not very parasite resistant, which can be a big issue in different areas. We had Dorpers before, and we definitely had more health problems with them compared to our Katahdins. I have never had St. Croix, but they're said to be the most parasite resistant breed of hair sheep. They're smaller than Katahdins. The argument that wins, in my opinion, is that Katahdin hair sheep are the best all-round as far as quality and productivity goes. If you like this video, we do have more about Katahdin hair sheep. We talk about lambing, breeding, and choosing characteristics for your breeding program. So be sure to check those out if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.